When it comes to planning for your future, you want someone you can trust. At Prairie State Investments, Mark Pfeiffer is here to help you build a plan that fits your life, your family, and your goals. Whether it's retirement, college savings, or investing wisely for tomorrow, Mark has the knowledge and local commitment to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future up to chance. Call Mark Pfeiffer at Prairie State Investments today at 815-668-8131 and start investing with confidence.
Ready to outfit your team or gear up for the season? Get trusted service, custom designs, and hometown commitment from Breedlove Sporting Goods, serving Kewanee and the surrounding communities since 1949. From quality athletic equipment, team uniforms, screen printing, and embroidery to trophies and awards, Breedlove's has what you need to compete with confidence. Whether you're a coach, an athlete, or a supporter of local sports, they've got you covered. Call them today at 309-852-2434 to outfit your squad, customize your gear, or plan your next fundraiser. That's 309-852-2434. Breedlove Sporting Goods. Support local champions and get ready to play hard and finish strong. Welcome to NUIC All Access, joined by Joe Murdian. I'm your host, Kyle Kampmeyer. Today we feature the head coach of the Fulton Steamer baseball team, along with an all-state player and an all-conference player. Joe, introduce our guest to us today.
Today's guests are Fulton head coach Brent Dykstra, along with all-state player Chase Dykstra and all-conference player Braedon Meyers. Here's a look at what they've accomplished so far. Brent led Fulton to their second sectional championship in school history. Brent was also named the IHSBCA Area Coach of the Year in 2025. Chase was named the IHSBCA First Team All-State and First Team NUIC West All-Conference. Chase is committed to play baseball at Iowa Central. Braedon was named Second Team NUIC West All-Conference. Fulton has won 4 consecutive regional titles heading into the 2026 season. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today, gentlemen.
Thank you. Yep.
All right, Coach, you took over the Fulton program in 2019, and that first season that you took over was a losing year. You won 2 games that season. Then COVID interrupted everything that was going on. Now the program has won 4 straight regional championships. You haven't had a losing record in the past 5 seasons. What were the biggest things that had to change to get Fulton baseball to where it is now?
Back in 2019, my first year coaching, it was an interesting year. I wasn't even supposed to be the head coach that year. And in December of the previous to the season, the head coach had resigned for family matters. And so I went ahead and took over the program. We had 3 varsity players that year. Half the uniforms, no tees, no baseballs, no nets to hit into. So we were basically starting from scratch from a program standpoint. That year we started 6 freshmen that year. Would have been a class of 22 with my older son, Drew, was on that team. So that year was a challenge. We didn't win our first game until the last week of regular season. And then the second game we won was the first play-in game at regionals. And so we also then the second game that year gave Byron a little bit of trouble there for half the game. And then, of course, their talent just outweighed ours. And so we fell short of that game and finished the season. Of course, COVID the next year. And then the third year then was the shortened season with COVID. So, of course, we were limited about half the games we had. That year, toward the end of the year, well, actually, let's go back to that first year. The biggest takeaway I took away from that year is Jake Jones. He was a captain of the team Jake Jones that year ended up being a captain toward the end of the season. He earned it because he was a great bench player, great player overall. And he made a comment indicating like he couldn't understand how we had only won 2 games. It felt like we won a lot more that year. And on paper, we didn't win more than 2 games, but from a beginning of a program standpoint, it's exactly what I wanted to hear. Every loss was a positive. You have to take those situations and turn them into positives. And from that started a culture, I think. And so then, of course, that the COVID year, we missed 1 full season, but then the shortened season. when they would have been juniors, we lost to Newman 3-2 in the regional championship. That close, that close to the first regional that year. But I still believe if we could have had that sophomore year and that game could have been completely different. But nonetheless, I think that's the way it's supposed to be. And then by the time they were seniors, then things just took off from that point because now the culture was set into the program.
So Chase, you've been part of a program that's grown into one of the top teams in the area. What stands out to you about the culture Coach Dykstra has built for Fulton baseball?
Um, to be honest, I mean, I've been around him for a lot of years now, either him being my coach or just watching me play. But he's kind of just a laid back guy. He's not the guy that gets hyped in the dugout. He kind of just sits there, enjoys the game, and wants us to be like engaged in the game as much as we can to be at the best of our abilities. But I mean, he's a great coach. It's love to have him around. But it's been great being with him the last 4 years, and I'm hoping to stick with it for another year and win another regional.
So, Braedon, from a player's perspective, in your opinion, what makes Fulton baseball different from other programs in the NUIC?
I would say it's different just because with Coach Dykstra's experience and his level that he played at when he played baseball, he is able to translate it with us. And he just, at practice, he coaches us, but then during games, he just lets us play and have fun and then just makes it really enjoyable.
So, Coach, when did you start to feel like the program had truly turned the corner, that you guys were becoming a consistent contender? Was there an exact moment that you can recall?
Like I said, that first year, getting beat by Newman had my eyes open at that point. That back in 21, 22, that year we had, I think, 10 seniors, similar to what we have this year. And so that year obviously made me realize, well, that year I kind of had some expectations that were to do that. The next year in 23 was the year that I really started realizing, wow, I thought the best year was the year before, but then that year we were better than the year before. And then, of course, and so there wasn't one specific moment I don't think I can focus on. I think it's just seeing players doing the expectation that the players are starting to create their own expectations, which is great because ownership is a big thing in our game. It's just like I tell these guys, they're owning their positives, but they also own their negatives and they work with it. And that's great. I'm hoping that being a leader, I feel like that's the starting point of it. So I don't have a specific time. I think it's just, yes, it's just developed.
Chase, last year you guys made it to the Supersectionals. You had a tough win in the sectional championship over River at Scales Mountain 3-2. Going into that playoff bracketing from the regionals on, you guys were not the favorites to be there, but you kept winning. And when you got to sectionals, you could start seeing that take place. When you got to DeKalb to play Ottawa Marquette, who eventually went on to win state, you guys were extreme underdogs going into that game as well, figuratively speaking, with what Marquette's success was the year prior as the state champs as well. How much confidence did last year's postseason run give you guys heading into this season?
Yeah, so going back last year, that was a lot of fun. As you said, no, we were the underdogs. We honestly didn't expect us to go all the way to the super sectional. I don't think anybody did. But I mean, we just got hot at the right time, and we just kept going game by game. And when we got to DeKalb, I know everybody was pretty nervous. Nobody's ever been there before, but we went into it not really worried about it, like the result, because we just wanted to go have fun, and that the year has been amazing so far. But this year, as we have a lot of people returning, I think that tells us that we're a team that can do it again. Even losing some players, we gained some players that can fill those roles. I think that just gives us confidence that we can definitely do it again this year. And I'm hoping we can.
Yeah, so 2026 is really looking like a reload rather than a rebuild, which is awesome because you guys are definitely going to be a team on a lot of people's radars this year for sure.
So, Braedon, kind of the same question. You guys win the sectional last year, huge moment for the Fulton program, obviously. What was that experience like for you and your teammates last year?
It was a great experience and it was tons of fun. I mean, like Chase said, we were playing good baseball at the right time. And I think what helped us get there is we were a really tight knit group. So it made it a lot like better as well. And it just made the games fun. And, we just all enjoyed being around each other.
So, kind of going off of that, Coach, for you, what made that team special last year during that postseason run to you?
I was actually pretty impressed. I think maturity comes to mind when I think about the players. There was never the highs were never too high and the lows were never too low. And really, it just seemed everybody had an even keel. They knew what their job was to do, but it was also they knew that doing their job and giving 100% is all I expect. And if they did that, it sure makes everything else fun. There's no regrets. There's no looking back going, I wish I would have, And so, um, like I said, the highs were never too high. And I think keeping emotions in place is a big thing, especially in baseball, because it's a very emotional game.
So, Chase, we talked about you guys lost to Marquette in the Supersectional. They went on to win state. What do you feel your team maybe learn from that experience? Something that can maybe you learn that could carry over into this season?
Um, kind of just gave us the expectation that we're not going to be the best team out there, but we got to work for it, and that there's like really good teams like them. As you can see, they've been really good these past 2 years. Nobody can really stop them, but I mean, we were pretty close. I felt we played that game really well, and some things could have changed, but it's in the past now, and we just learned from it. But I mean, I don't know if there's really much to learn from that game. I just know that I think we played as hard as we could, and that's honestly all that matters. We gave it all, and that's what I'm most happy about that team last year.
So, Coach, going back to you real quick, do games like that super sectional, do you feel that they help players understand the level it takes to get to that state championship level?
I do. You sometimes I think they probably think it's an uphill battle. But you know, I think like Chase said, I don't want to say mediocrity is a good place to be, but if you're going to be successful in anything in this country, in this world, you have to have some humbleness to yourself. And what that humbleness does is it creates a pattern to say, hey, even though I think I'm the best, I still have a lot to work on because I haven't really proven that I'm the best. And I don't know if the great players never believe they're the best all the time. They're constantly working at being the best. Um, but taken away from that, I think it's one of those things where once you've accomplished a super sectional and getting there, I think, of course, a goal in everybody's mind is going to be we want to be there again. And so, how do we get to that point? And hopefully, the players will learn that it's not getting to the super sectional on week one. It's going to take game by game and going that route and playing each game, going to each practice, not thinking, hey, we're going to be here again. Because right now, it's a clean slate. We don't know where we're going this year.
So, Chase, you were named Illinois High School Baseball Coaches Association first team All State last season. When you look back on that, what made it such a successful season for you?
Um, I mean, going into the year, usually so throughout the winter, I don't do any winter sports. I started that after my freshman year. I stopped playing basketball, so I started focusing on mainly just baseball. So over the winter, I would kind of just grind it out and get ready for the spring throughout that. So going into the spring, I was excited. and I knew that it was going to be a good year with my teammates that I've been playing with since I've been probably 11 or 12 years old. So I just know when I'm on the mound, I know I can trust my defense behind me because I got to trust them if I want to be up on that mound. So if I can trust them, I can just do my thing when I'm on the mound. And once that goes on, then I get in my flow state and I just keep going throughout the game.
Coach, from a coaching standpoint, what makes Chase such a tough pitcher for opponents to deal with?
Um, obviously usually the big thing there is the velocity standpoint is a big thing. This will be his third year as a varsity player. So experience is another thing. He controls himself emotionally on the mound, which is huge for any pitcher. Um, his off seasons this past couple years have been that's what shocks me a lot is how much time and effort he's putting into those workout trainings. I know a month ago, and we have yet to determine what happens this year, but a month ago, he's been going down to Chase Academy every weekend. He drives to 2 hours, 2.5 hours down there to work with a pitching coach down there because I've exhausted myself with him. He can't get anything new from me anymore. And so I know a couple weeks ago, uh, three of the 8 fastballs that he threw were 90 plus. And so it just tells you that the actions are speaking louder than words. And so, of course, we can talk about it now, but I've always going to say until you see it, you know, um, we'll see what happens with it. But that's a cute thing. He also mixes his pitches really well. And so, like I said, he's a learner of the game. He's constantly on his phone reading stuff, telling me everything that all these other pitchers do all the time. And so it makes me start as I get older. And even though I have a bit of experience from pitching, start to realize like I'm getting left in the dust a few of all my knowledge just because I'm 50 now and I think I'm an old school guy. It's amazing that I'm there now. I never thought I would.
It's okay to be a little bit old school, coach, as long as you have the adaptability to bring in some of the new school stuff too.
Yes. Absolutely, and that's what I leave them. And that's I think where I like them to own their own path is I can give them a good foundation with it, but it's up to them to take off with it. So
That's the idea.
So Braedon, when you're a defender in the field and Chase is on the mound, an all-state caliber type pitcher, what's it like playing defense when he's on the mound?
Honestly, it could be kind of boring sometimes because not much that happens, but it also is really fun. And I think it gives the rest of the guys a lot of confidence and just lets them play loose because, when we have our dog on the mound, he's going to do what he does and just allows us to help him when he needs it. And it also allows us to focus a little bit more on the hitting side and get him the runs that he needs.
So do you guys take the field behind Chase and already when you take that field know that you have a high probability of coming out with the W that day?
Kinda, yeah. I wouldn't say like we know we're gonna win, but we feel pretty good about ourselves and we just know what we're capable of.
So Chase, your fastball on average sits in the high 80s. Now you're starting to top 90. You've got a curveball that drops about 15 miles per hour off of that. A changeup that can drop 10 to 12 miles per hour from that as well. Which pitch do you trust the most when you need a big out? What's your go-to?
To be honest, it kind of just varies. I mean, going on throughout every at bat, you kind of see how hitters are swinging, how they react to pitches. So that tells me what I should throw next. So it kind of depends. I mean, it doesn't matter what the count is; any pitch could be coming. So I don't know. It kind of just depends on how the hitter's been swinging, and how I can see that swing path and what I should throw next.
So coach is right. You're just a studious person of the game.
Yeah.
You're doing all the things right, man.
So, Coach, is there a place where you've maybe seen Chase grow the most as a pitcher over the past few seasons? Is there one thing that kind of stands out?
I would say it's one, honestly, Chase used to be a pretty emotional kid, to be honest with you. You know, when he was upset, you knew it. Um, and there was nothing wrong with that. Body language is a huge thing. He's controlled that very well. He's kind of settled in himself, and I think that's maturity. He's developed a lot of different pitches, you know, and so he's worked on those. Working on his own, giving 100% on his own is huge. I don't have to go tell him to go lift. I don't have to tell him to go practice things or anything. And I'm speaking this from a coach, but yet partially a dad. I can't help that thought, you know.
Right.
And so, but the most impressive, yes, is his ability to go forward when something happens, short memories, continue moving forward. That and like I said, I call pitches. Last year I started calling pitches just because we had a young catching crew. This year it's to be determined yet. I usually don't decide that until we kind of see how things shake out. But last year Chase shakes me off more than any pitcher I've ever had. So that's a good thing. Okay. I sit back and just sit, and it gives me the idea of like, hey, that's great. If he pitches the wrong pitch, then it's not my fault. so it's all on him at that point, you know. So
So, Braedon, you bring back a lot of speed and defensive ability behind the team. And you're a utility guy. You can play catcher, you can play third base, you can play outfield. Plus, you're the number 2 pitcher on the team. Where do you feel you impact the game the most for the Fulton Steamers?
Yeah, you kind of already said it. Just like my ability to kind of play wherever the team needs me at that time, and probably my IQ. Just like not saying like I'm insanely smart, but like I know what I'm doing before every pitch, and always talking to teammates, making sure we know what we're doing when the ball's hit to us, just so we're all on the same page, and kind of eliminates the errors.
So, Coach Dykstra, we'll give you a chance to talk here about Braedon a little bit, what he brings to this team. And is there something he brings to this team that maybe doesn't show up on the stat sheet necessarily?
yeah, obviously his diversity of his abilities and the knowledge of every position is that the physical aspect of it. Um, Honestly, Brain's a quiet guy. I wouldn't say he's a loudmouth. He's not like the rah-rah guy, but his actions are that. And so there's been a lot of times in games, whether it's a double, I can remember a couple times over years when Braden would get feedback. He would catch and there was a pop fly and you saw him just lay out to try to catch that. And, you know, he was so close or the ball would be in his glove and it'd pop out. But just seeing his athleticism and his desire and want to be good is such a huge thing for our players to see. It kind of it motivates a bit from that perspective. You know, he is one that will slide into a base, get up, kind of scream a little bit. That's about it. You're not going to get anything else, but that's enough. We don't need him to constantly do that because it'd probably be annoying at that point. So, but he does pick moments somehow that he does elevate the team.
So, Chase, who's the fastest player on the team right now?
God, I don't really know. I mean, if you're going off of somebody that's going to steal a lot of bases this year, honestly, to me, I don't really think it's like, yeah, speed plays a big factor in that, but I honestly don't think it's all about speed. You got to know when to time a jump. So I think, honestly, if the slowest player on a team could time a good jump, I think he can make it to a base just as the fastest player can if he has a bad jump. So honestly, I think it's basically all about the jump. But going back to the speed thing, um, I don't really know, to be honest. I haven't really seen people we haven't done sprint offs or anything, so.
All right. Well, hey, Kyle, let's put Braedon on the spot. Braedon, who do you think the fastest player in the Fulton baseball team is heading into this season?
Not giving any secrets out here, guys. Here we go.
Kyle's taking notes. Be careful what you say.
Chase is humble. He just wants
to this year.
Chase is humble. He doesn't want to say himself, so that's fine.
I think I honestly would probably say myself or maybe Jacob Voss. You know, he could give me some run for my money at times. But if it was like a flat out race, I think I could get anybody.
I do like what Chase said, because I tell my kids all the time, you you don't have to be the fastest kid to be the best base stealer. You have to be the one that can read the best. And when I was in college, one of our best base stealers was our fat catcher, because he just was good at reading the pitch and getting better jumps and understanding what the pitcher was doing. And that's something I try to bring home to my kids, because I like to steal a lot of bases. So you got to learn how to read what the pitcher is doing, what their tendencies are, and try to pick up on those tendencies in those moments, and take advantage of that.
All right, so Braedon, kind of take us through your mindset defensively. Pitcher's getting ready to go into his windup here, and then from the time that happens to when the balls hit your way, just kind of take us through your mindset when you're playing the field.
Yeah, I was always taught growing up to just like know where I'm going with the ball before it's pitched. So I think it's really just became a second nature now. So like I'm just thinking through the play before the pitch happens, and then when it's hit to me, I just react and I make the play.
That's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball's a very simple game. The foundation of baseball is very simple. Just do the things a certain way more often and consistent. There's going to be success.
This is true. You do have to be smart, though. I always call it the smart person's game. Kind of like chess. You got to make sure you're moving the pawns in the right direction, too. Chase, you've committed to play at Iowa Central, which is one of the top programs among the teams in NJCAA action. Right now, they're currently ranked 16th in the country. What made that program the right fit for you?
Yeah, I've never really heard of them before this past summer until I started reaching out to a ton of teams, and then they eventually reached out to me. So I was like, all right, look them up, and seeing that they've been really successful these past few years. Their pitching staff has been really good. So I started talking to their coaches a little bit, and they invited me out for like a little campus tour. So I went out there, met the coaches, thought they're really good guys. Their pitching coach was a D1 pitcher himself, so I know he has good experience, and their head coach is a pretty young guy, so he knows what he's talking about. But just the atmosphere there was like really nice. Like it's in the middle of nowhere basically in Fort Dodge, but it's like not a bad thing. It's not in a huge city where you got everybody around you. So I kind of like that aspect of it, especially growing up in a small town myself. But their campus is really nice, their facilities are really nice, and them honestly just producing like a ton of D1 level guys going on to the next level or even getting drafted. They're really known for that. So going there, I have the tendency of them making me a better player to get me to the next level as much as they can.
They have a lot of College World Series times there since the year 2000. So, yeah, they definitely produce a lot of good talent there for sure.
Yeah.
Appearances is the word I was looking for.
So, Coach Dykstra, back to you. What does it mean for a program like Fulton when you see players move on to play college baseball at that level?
Fulfilling. It really is. A lot of players that I coach, you could tell they love the game, but many, even though they love it, don't have opportunities to play it at the next level. And so it does create a separator from um, not a separator, but the fulfilling part of it tells me that we're doing something right in our program, and in helping these players develop at our level to get to the next level. And whatever level that might be, it doesn't matter. If they still get to continue playing the game they love, then that's the best thing. And if you get school paid for some of that because of that, even better yet. But it does tell me I'm very proud every year. I think we've had someone go college, whether it's D3 or NAIA or JUCO, every year since I've coached. I find that fulfilling. It tells me that maybe that is a little bit of, hey, you are doing something right, but it also tells you how hard our kids want to work and do things to get to that level. So a testament to them and the culture we have as Fulton Steamers. Athletically, we have a lot of athletes. And so, um, you know, every year I always say I coach more athletes than baseball players because everyone plays a lot of different sports. And so, it's nice. It's good for Steamer Nation as well. So,
So, Braedon, for you, how motivating is it to you seeing teammates go on to play at the next level as well?
Yeah, I would say it's not really motivating towards me. Like, I'm proud of my buddies for going on and going to get what they want. I would say it's more motivating to like the younger classmen that potentially want to go play at the college level, and they see it's possible with like the kids that are just a little bit older than them. So it makes them want to work hard and go get whatever they want.
So, Coach, let's talk about you know, the NUIC West, arguably been one of the toughest divisions in the conference over the last several seasons. Why do you think the competition has been so strong here lately?
uh, I really think that all the coaches in NUIC West are very proud of their programs. Um, I think, with being proud, it kind of says, "Hey, look, here we are. We mean something. We believe." I think usually in every all conference meeting, times it will start off as, "Yes, we're the best conference up here. We're the West." And there's pride behind that, and it's not meant to be that the other conference divisions are less. There's just a lot of pride into it. A lot of experienced coaches too. And so with all that experience, and these guys have been around for a long time, it once again, I think it creates an atmosphere, and they have their own cultures that are winning programs. I think it's interesting to see our conference games and how often they're split. One time, we'll beat East Dubuque, and then they beat us, and then we beat Galena, and then they beat us, and there's a lot of common. Seems like just a lot of common atmosphere with these teams. So it's fun that you're going to have a competitive game regardless. And so you have to prepare yourself for that.
Yeah, and right now you and East Dubuque kind of carry that flag bearer because you guys were the last two teams to win sectional championships, doing it in back-to-back years, getting to the Supersectional, so really waving that conference flag. And there is a lot to speak about the NUIC West. There's no doubt about that because of the amount of experience that comes with it. So, Chase, going to you, teams like East Dubuque, Galena, and River Ridge Scales Mound look like they're going to be contenders in the NUIC West once again this year. Who are some teams you might be circling on the schedule already, taking a look ahead?
Um, to be honest, I mean, like, yeah, I look at the schedule, but I don't really look at it to where I'm gonna look at what teams are taking like better than us, because I'm not gonna think that I think like on our schedule, I'm gonna think that we're the best team. I think we could beat anybody on our schedule. So to be honest, it's not really looking forward to a game. I mean, we just got to go game by game, play every game, and make people want us to be a team that they want to circle on their calendar to be like afraid of, but also want to play us because they want to beat us. But um, yeah, our conference, like as my dad said, that we split all the time. It's like sometimes so weird. Like you'll have one game where you're up 5-0, and then they'll come out of nowhere and beat you, and you're like, all right, that kind of sucks, but you got to move on. But yeah, our conference would be, I think, really good again this year. I know all my friends somehow, especially like Braden and Jacob, know everybody and what grade they're in. I have no clue how they do that. I have no clue what grade people are in and who's coming back. But I just look at it as hoping we're going to be the best team in conference this year and looking forward to just playing our hearts out on the field every game at a time.
So Braedon, we mentioned the conference. East Dubuque's always solid. Galena, River is Skills Mountain. Never going to count out Warren and Stockton, obviously either. What do you feel makes conference games so tough week to week once you get into conference play?
I would say the competitiveness that just each team brings. Each team thinks that they're better than the other, and no one really just thinks, okay, I'm gonna go in and we're gonna lose today. But no, everyone really brings competitiveness, and honestly, a little bit of the weather. Because sometimes you could play Warren Stockton on Tuesday and it's 75 degrees outside, and then you go on Thursday and it's 45 degrees outside, and it just completely changes the game.
Yeah, that's true.
Coach, how important is surviving the conference schedule when you get into the postseason? Like, knowing that you're going to go into the NUIC West action, and like you have already said, any team can beat any team depending on which day it is. How is that preparing you for that postseason?
That exactly what you just said. I think the competitive nature of our conference is preparing us for postseason, to be honest with you. From that standpoint, once again, it's the idea that anybody can beat anybody. And so going into postseason, knowing that, I think we did upset a few people last postseason with that thought and that philosophy. And so baseball is that kind of a sport. Ask USA Baseball from the other day.
Yeah.
And so you just prepare yourself to just go out and do your things, do them consistently. Don't think about the other team and what they're doing. Just focus on what you do and what you do best, and just go with it and see what happens.
So Braedon, obviously you guys are coming off the sectional championship last year. Several starters back. And as you guys talked about, you got some kids that are back out for baseball this year. What excites you the most about Fulton baseball heading into this 2026 season?
I would say our competitiveness and just willing to win. I think we all really want to win, whenever we can. I didn't have a great football season or basketball season. So, I want to have a good baseball season. And I think, everyone else really just wants to go out there and compete.
So, Chase, going into 2026, what are some of your personal goals for this year?
Definitely just going out and having fun with my team, of course. Just want to be with them for my last year. Last year's team was it's pretty sad to let go because I've been playing with those guys for a long time. But this year, it's going to be difficult at the end too because I've been playing with them all my life too. But personal goals, definitely do our best to win conference. Definitely win another regional because that'd be pretty cool to be in high school all 4 years and win a regional every year. So, but for me, personal goals for me, honestly, I don't really have any. I kind of just hope everyone else I hope everyone else has their own goals because I want to help them reach those goals, and I want to just do my work when I can and just help the team as much as I can.
All right, Coach. So when we get going here in the season, what do you think is going to be the determining factor whether or not Fulton baseball makes another deep run here in the postseason?
They're willing to adapt soon in a game versus waiting it lag on a little bit. It seems like the game is moving faster and faster, I think. And so being able to make adjustments sooner is a huge thing. And if our players realize that and can recognize it earlier, I think the better we're going to be. The other thing is, I mentioned it before, let's just stay within ourselves. If our players are wanting it, and they do want it, you can tell by these two that they want it. With that desire of want, just be consistent with it. and it is playing all 7 innings. Just because you're up a lot early doesn't mean it's going to end that way. You have to just keep your foot on the pedal the whole time. That's the key to it is these guys can keep their foot on the gas all 7 innings, then this could be great. You know, I expect even if we end up with a 5-inning game that their foot's still on the gas for 2 more innings. I know it sounds weird, but you kind of have that. And that's kind of that post-game feeling of, okay, we did this, we accomplished it. Okay, the foot's still on the gas. What's next? Who's next? And so I think if they do those things and be consistent with it, I think there'll be good success. We got good cohesion with these players too. Like I said, 8 seniors this year. They've all been playing together, all been classmates for a long time. And so they have a unique challenge to also help the 5 juniors we have and then 1 sophomore, then 16 JV players. So they're going to be looked upon to be those leaders.
So Braedon, going back to you, what kind of identity do you want this Fulton team to have this season? How do you want others to perceive what Fulton baseball is?
I would say I want others to look at us as a team that's gonna come out and give it their all each and every game. You can never really count us out. We're always gonna be competitive. And this year especially, I want to play with some swagger, not cockiness, just swagger. Just go out, make a mistake, flush it, whatever, move on to the next one, and just be able to make the play.
All right, Chase. So easy question for you here. No pressure on this question. Favorite MLB pitcher growing up or even now? Could be 2 different answers or just one answer altogether. Favorite MLB pitcher?
So, he's not in the MLB right now, but I grew up watching Trevor Bauer on YouTube, and honestly, I think he's a really good pitcher. I love what he does. People can think he's cocky, but honestly, I just think that's how he is, and that's how he controls himself to be the way he is. And that's his biggest thing is to go at people. He knows that he's better than the person in the box, which is honestly what my mindset is. I know I'm better than the person in the box, but now I got to prove it. So honestly, I love what he does, and I know some people don't like him for some reasons, but honestly, I think I love what he does, and I honestly love that he he does it for the kids, honestly, on YouTube. He still puts out videos out there doing live ABs against MLB pitcher or MLB hitters. So he still has it, and I grew up watching him, and I honestly kind of follow him a lot.
Yeah, Bauer was definitely very interesting. Obviously, he had a lot of different training techniques that were abnormal at the time, but as you're starting to see the years go by, there's a lot of things that he was trying to introduce that people are now doing on a regular basis to help strengthen their arm, have more longevity, have quicker recovery, which I feel that's one of the reasons why he was somewhat ostracized is because he was going to stay faithful to what he knew, which kind of went against the status quo of what baseball teams wanted to do, and he wasn't going to change anything up on that. But I agree with you there. Trevor Bauer is definitely a guy to watch in regards to that stuff, and his competitiveness is definitely next level for sure.
I actually got my shoulder tube a
Oh,
few years
yeah?
back because of him. Yeah, watching him use that, I was like, you know what? Might as well try it. Said it helps with the shoulder. So I got it, and I've been using that a ton. And honestly, it's a really good technique. I love using it to get warmed
Yeah.
up.
And that's just it. That's one of the things that other teams weren't on board with, and now it's becoming more of the norm. It's crazy how much bad publicity he's gotten over things that have actually helped him. I mean, when he first went into the pros, he was throwing 92, and by the time he got out, he was throwing 97. Like, he was getting faster and stronger every single year, and hopefully one day he makes it back. I think that's why he keeps doing the videos too. He's trying to
I
prove he
know.
still has it.
Yeah.
So, Braden, going to you. Who's your favorite MLB player? Current, past?
I would say Bryce Harper. I just love the way he plays. I mean, some people think he can be pretty cocky, but I just think he just has a lot of confidence in himself and plays with that swagger. And, sometimes he doesn't do the greatest things, but I just really enjoy watching him play.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And you both said cocky in both your answers, which is funny because, in my personal opinion, you have to have a little bit of that cockiness and bravado in order to find yourself having success. It's one of those things where you kind of got to take the field with that cockiness, but you don't have to show it, right? It doesn't have to be a negative thing. You can be cocky and still be very positive about it, but you just got to have that little bit of chip on your shoulder to go out there and compete with that fighter's tenacity that you are the best on the field at any given moment.
All right, Coach. Question for you: favorite baseball movie?
I'm gonna say Major League. I go Major League. That came out in 1989 when I was a freshman in high school, and so of course all the one-liners we used
Yeah.
in high school and in college using that. Plus, you can't beat being a pitcher myself. At the end of the game, the Ricky Vaughn strikeout at the end. Of course, I got to fulfill that now in bad practice. I still feel like Ricky Vaughn when throw a BP, and maybe we'll see if I can strike my guys out. But usually my shoulder gives out before I get a chance to do that. So
So are you still humming the fastball in there in the 80s?
I don't know. I haven't been radared in a while. I might be able to get one at 80, maybe one. I don't know. I probably not. I'm going to say no. I'm going to humble myself. My brain says yes. My body doesn't.
Yeah. My brain says I can still rocket launch a ball from behind the plate down the second base too, but I know realistically I'm going to get it back to the pitcher.
Yeah. I know. It's
So
no different than me trying to do the worm here about a month ago, and I'm pretty sure I looked awesome doing it, but I think I was only about 2 inches off the ground, looking like a beached whale, just like trying my hardest to do the worm that I think I did a long time ago when I was 150 pounds.
it's funny when you go back to that. So Chase and Braedon, you can go first. You guys have a favorite baseball movie?
I would say The Perfect Game. It's like based off like the Little League World Series and the team from Mexico. And I don't know why, I just really liked it growing up.
Chase?
Oh, I kind of like kept two. I like The Sandlot a lot. Growing up watching that, it's always a classic. But I also like the movie For Love of the Game.
Oh yeah.
I love that movie too.
Yeah. The Sandlot, that's another great one. Coach, you were talking about the one-liners for Major League. You still giving out those one-liners? Because I know I do.
I do, and everybody looks at me like what the heck is he saying? Like, what does that mean? Or there's the analogy of what those were back then is just so different than how one-liners are now. I think I think they're funny.
Oh, they're still very funny. It's just that the kids today don't necessarily understand it. So what you have to do is you're going to have to put together a movie night for your team and then put Major League on.
Yeah. Absolutely. It actually would probably be a good practice. Actually, we could just do it during practice. An hour and a half of that. I'll be honest with you, might get just as much out of that, So
you could, and you'll have a bunch of kids laughing, and you could have some pizza, make it a big old party.
I'm pretty sure they're probably going to ruin it for me. To be honest with you. I'm going to have my feeling of what it is, and they're not going to think it's cool or it's not funny, and it'll just make it worse. I'll make them. Yeah.
You never know. You never know. Another good one is Bull Durham. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That one's, I know you have, Coach, but Braedon and Chase, I don't know if you guys have, but that's a great one too.
Yeah, that Bull Durham was great. Actually, that was my number two. My number two, and it always reminded me when I played ball in Wausau, Wisconsin, in the North Woods League one summer. Um, that whole feeling of dampness in an old minor league ballpark, it just brings back memories on that feel and how everything used to be. And it's still, that's the thing is those days that baseball can be frustrating because of how the timing, the pitch clock, the big bases, all these different things that they're changing in a game. It just brings, I have to go back to those things that make me say, hey, remember, you love this game too. It's the game's still different. They're just changing things. But that, I've always said, if you're struggling with baseball, just think about how it used to be and how much fun you used to have. And you can just recycle that again to get back to wanting to love it right now. So,
That's one of the things you see, like football's done some changes with their kickoff rules, and a lot of people that know me know I'm more of a college football guy anyway. Basketball has become more of a three-point game than it's ever been before with a lot less defense. So to me, like the NBA is completely boring anymore. Again, I'm more in tune with the college game or the high school game there. But baseball, man, there are some subtle changes, like you said, the pitch clock, the bigger bases, but at the end of the day, the game's still the same. And
mhm.
I think, it goes back to the whole analogy of America's pastime. There's still a lot of romance in baseball, I feel, and it doesn't matter what level you're at. It's always fun to go watch it. But that's where I definitely pay more attention to the professional level is Major League Baseball.
Mhm.
So we want to thank you guys for coming on today. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are going to be taking place here. Games get to start this upcoming week, provided that the weather either A holds off or B, we're going to move some things to hopefully later in the week when temperatures warm up and fields dry out. But you guys definitely are going to be a team to watch this year, as we've talked about. We want to wish you guys the best of luck this season. I think there's a lot of excitement around Steamer baseball this year, and rightfully so. Going for a potential 5th consecutive regional title is always an exciting thing, especially with the kids that you have returning and the camaraderie that you guys have built along with the culture that you built. So we wish you guys the best of luck. And more importantly, we really want to thank you guys a lot for taking the time out to spend a Sunday morning with us talking about Fulton Steamer baseball.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you for hosting us.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
You guys are welcome. So myself and Joe are going to return right after this.
When the job matters, your equipment can't fail. That's where J&R Rentals delivers. Serving Tri-States area from East Dubuque, J&R Rentals is your local source for dependable equipment. From lifts, trailers, pumps, and job site essentials built to work as hard as you do. Homeowners, contractors, big projects or small jobs, expect the same standard every time. Pickup or delivery is available. Equipment sales, service and repairs, propane refills, reliable equipment from people who know the job. Call J&R Rentals today at 815-747-7707 and get to work.
Joe, we just got done talking with Fulton head coach Brent Dykstra, along with players Chase Dykstra and Braedon Meyers. And, going through what we were just discussing, how much Fulton has to look forward to in this season. They return a great nucleus. Coach said they returned 7 starters. They got 2 other guys that had been in starting roles as well. Plus, they have a couple seniors that didn't go out as juniors that are coming back out this year that will definitely help build the overall core of that group off of a team that has won 4 consecutive regional titles. They were in Supersectionals last year on a run that probably surprised quite a bit, but they were injured as far as pitching depth, and by the time the playoffs were getting ready to roll around, they were at full health, went on a great run. lost to the eventual state champions in a good game, 6-3, a game that they were truly a huge underdog in, but were able to give Marquette everything that they could in order to earn that victory to move on to a second consecutive state championship. And, Fulton's got a lot to look forward to again this year. Now they have Chase Dykstra back on the mound. You have Braedon Meyers back in that number 2 role. But Chase definitely going to be one of the top pitchers in the area, if not the top pitcher in the area, between him and Luke Madigan at Lena Winslow. Both those guys touching high 80s, low 90s on their fastball with a lot of good off-speed stuff. So now it comes down to execution and control, of which we were just discussing off air. If you can have a couple good pitchers, you can be not just a regional contender, but you're going to be a sectional contender. And with Ottawa Marquette now out of the picture this year, getting hit with the success factor and getting bumped up into 2A, that whole super sectional is definitely opened up pretty wide for an NUIC team, not just to get there, but have a great opportunity to finally break through and get down to Champaign.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's a great point, Kyle. With Marquette being bumped up due to the success factor, you've got to think an NUIC school has a real good shot to get down to state to the Final Four for baseball this year. But talking about Fulton here a little bit, boy, that was a fun interview. Chase and Braedon, those guys gave great answers. And you can tell they're just very laid back kids, and it kind of sounded like they were talking about Coach Dykstra, very laid back coach as well, Kyle. And sometimes I think that may be something that gets lost in the shuffle. It just sounds like he's more the type that he's going to put his kids in the position to be successful, and then he's just going to go let them out and play and have fun. He's not that, get on their butt type of coach. I didn't quite get that feeling from what the players were saying there, and I think that can mean something nowadays with kids. So, but yeah, when you talk about everything Fulton's got coming back, along with an ace like Chase Dykstra, it's hard not to get excited about Fulton baseball this upcoming season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Coach Dykstra had mentioned, he's one of those guys that he doesn't get too emotional within a game. He stays just relatively normal. I've coached against him before in a sectional semifinal game, and he's right. He does not have a lot of emotion when it comes to the game. He wants to sit back and make sure his kids are playing their game. He'll probably speak to them within the dugout, about staying in control. And like he mentioned, stay consistent, just keep battling. But he's not going to be the super high cheer, rah-rah guy. He's not going to be the guy that's yelling instruction between every play. He just kind of goes with the flow of the game, and his demeanor follows suit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, you can just kind of feel the confidence there, like talking to Braedon, the confidence that team has when Chase is on the mound, and it's not cockiness, it's confidence, and rightfully so,
Yeah.
And again, we talked about, though, Kyle, how tough that West division traditionally is, and doesn't look like this year's going to be any different from the things you've told me kind of off air. With the likes of Galena, River Ridge, Scales Mound. You're never counting out Warren, Stockton, East Dubuque, obviously. So, all those teams are going to be battle tested, Kyle, throughout the conference slate here. And of course, a lot of those schools have beefed up their non-conference schedule as well. So, all those teams are going to be very battle tested come regional time when we get into towards the end of May here. So it's going to be a fun baseball season for some of these teams from the northwest part of the state here.
That's one of the things we were talking to Coach about. They were 18-14 last year. That doesn't scream super sectional quality to you when you take a look at it. But
Right.
That's one of the beautiful things about baseball. And you get the same opportunities in basketball as well. But you can go out there and put together a much harder schedule that you may not win games in, but they're definitely going to battle test you throughout the course of the season so that when you show up in the playoffs, you're ready to go. And you take a look at his schedule right now. We barely touched his schedule, but he's got Anawan Wethersfield on his schedule, They're playing Sterling Newman, who's been to state 3 consecutive years now and has been a force. Well, they were a force in 1A as far as like the sectional championship games were concerned, but now that they're in 2A and they're still getting back to the state finals in the last 2 years since moving up to 2A themselves. They have Riverdale on schedule. Of course, you go into conference play right after that, which we already talked about. They have a Rock Falls team on schedule as well. Rock Falls and Coach Chaparral there, they're always tough no matter what their record is. They're going to have Rock Island Alleman on schedule, and Coach Thomas Smith down there has his team gearing to go. They're looking to make a deep 2A regional sectional run themselves. They have Orion on schedule. You have Rock Ridge on schedule at the likes of Cullen Schweigen coming back for them on the mound. So they're definitely putting themselves up against some of the top competition that are looking to make 2A deep playoff runs themselves. And when you put that kind of schedule together and you're a 1A school, and you're coming off of a sectional championship, you're coming off of 4 consecutive regional championships, that is definitely a team that knows that they have the competitive spirit and balance to be right back where they were a season ago.
Right. And Kyle, obviously you're, much more into the baseball thing than I am. But I think the thing for me, just from an outsider standpoint, when I look at that, when these 1A teams beef up their schedule, and you play these tougher teams during the season, it puts you in those game-like situations, in those late innings, guys on first and third with 1 out in the 6th inning, like, okay, what are we going to do here? Like, that's the type of situations you need to be ready for the end of May and early June, and playing those tough teams. That's what, to me, that's what really gets teams ready for the postseason.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. That's what makes it a lot of fun, right? Is being able to have yourself prepared and ready to do just those things and get yourselves not just preparing for conference ball. I mean, that's the great thing about March, right? You got 3 weeks where you can schedule whoever you want. You can schedule as hard as you want. You can schedule as easy as you want. But your better teams are using those first 3 weeks to kind of go out there and see what they truly have.
Right.
Because not that they're wasteful games. Nobody goes into a game saying, oh, win or lose, it doesn't matter. I mean, you want to win, right? That's the mindset. But you're also trying to prepare for the long haul. When you flip the calendar to April, now you're getting into those conference games and everything means something. And if you have some of those games too early in that March game schemes, that scheduling there, that are going to be subsectional opponents, those games too are important, obviously, as you are well aware, for seeding purposes. So it gives you an opportunity to schedule some of those games. It also gives you an opportunity to schedule up or down, however you want to make your team be. I mean, like we've talked several times, everybody's got different goals for what success looks like for their team, depending on what their personnel is and what their expectations are. So I always look at March as our version of spring training. These games may not necessarily matter, but they're going to be the building blocks for when we flip that calendar to April and get into conference games. And when we get into conference games, it's go time now, because these are the games that are going to matter for that conference championship. But we also have to keep in mind the teams that we're playing that could be in our subsectional. That's just as important. That's like playing another conference game, because you have to win those games in order to give yourself an opportunity to be higher seeded once that regional seeding comes out.
Yeah, and Kyle, I think the other thing too with baseball, maybe not so much your top tier teams, but maybe your mid level and some of your lower teams. Those March games give the coaches a chance to maybe try some kids at different positions. Some of these teams that maybe don't have the depth that the top level teams have.
Yeah.
It gives you a chance to see, okay, who's going to be my backup second baseman if my starter goes down? Like, it gives these coaches a chance to try some guys at different positions. Like you said, you kind of use it as your spring training. You know, and again, a team like Fulton, you know, that we just interviewed, they probably know all their backups for all. They're just, you know, they got a really good team. But some of these mid-range teams, so to speak, it's a good chance for these coaches to try guys at different positions here early in the season before you get into conference play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even on the good teams I've had over the past couple of years, I still use it as an opportunity to get guys in different positions so I can either A, like you said, see who my backups can be, but B, maybe I have somebody in a position right now because that's where they played last year, but they might better benefit
Right.
our team if I move them to a different position. So it helps us bolster up a lot of things. And then on top of that, it, like Coach was stating earlier, you know, you want to stay humble. So at some point, you got to take some of that over cockiness or contentment, I should say, really, away from some of those kids that just think, well, I already got a starting spot locked up. I'm just going to do this or do that.
Right.
You got to take that away from them and make them truly feel like they're in a battle to earn their job every day. Because at the end of the day, competition breeds success. And if
Exactly.
you're not competing every day, you're not going to continue to push yourself to get better. And I feel like that's what Brent's doing at Fulton. I mean, he talked about it without saying it. He talked about it, and your better programs are doing just that. But baseball starts this week. Obviously, we got some potential weather coming in tonight that is going to probably delay some of these games to start. I know there's a lot of games starting up on the 17th that will most likely get moved out. But later in the week this week, things should look good provided teams can get their fields to dry out. But baseball is here, man. It's go time. Finally, it's ready to go. It's ready
Folks,
to go.
he's like a kid on Christmas morning right now. That's all I can say.
So excited, so excited. Softball, on the other hand, has already started some games, and a couple teams have definitely taken advantage of that. Orangeville's already off to a 2-0 start. Polo's off to a 1-0 start. Fulton has a game under their belts. However, they did come up with a loss to Orangeville. And then they had a couple other games that were scheduled that did not get played. And, you know, so a lot of these schools have not necessarily started yet. Forston is the team that did lose to Polo. So Polo has that 1-0 matchup over Forston already. A lot of other teams are getting ready to start this week. So we'll see how that plays out. And should be a lot of fun. Obviously, we talked about Dakota last week with Coach Kenny and what he has coming back, and obviously those guys being the teams, the big team to watch this year, and rightfully so. But it's going to be exciting as we should start seeing these games. Well, it's not a should. We're going to start seeing these games get played and start opening up what we expect to happen this season. And obviously expectations are different. It's always fun when you get those teams you don't expect to show up because it keeps the competitive nature alive and well. But next week, too, we're going to have Fulton softball head coach Derek Gurman on, and he's bringing on 4 of his girls to the show. So that's going to be a ton of fun, too, because he's got quite a few girls there that are anxious and ready to go to battle back from what they did last year, too, winning a regional championship. So I'm excited to talk some Steamer softball. We talked to them last year during our regional championship show, but we have not really gotten an opportunity to talk and break down Fulton softball. So that'll be a lot of fun next week. Recapping what's happened over this past week outside the softball scene starting up. Eastland basketball finished off the basketball season with a 4th place finish at the state championships. They lost to Marshall in the state semifinals, and then they lost to Lawrenceville in the 3rd place game. Joe, you were there. Give us a little bit of some thought process on what you saw there over the weekend.
Yeah, and Kyle, actually, let's back up to Monday night down in Macomb at the Supersectional. Eastland beat a very, very solid Tremont team, 47-45. And, that was a game, Kyle. Eastland jumped out early. Tremont came back, and then Eastland, it's kind of one of those games where they, would lead by 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 points kind of most of the game. And then it came right down to the end. Very intense fourth quarter. I mean, both teams making big plays. Both teams come up with defensive stops. Came right down the end, though. Tremont has the ball underneath their own basket with 12 seconds to go, down 2. And Eastland, and we all know a team that hangs their hat on their defense. They came up with a big stop. Tremont did get off a 3, but it wasn't the guy they wanted shooting the 3, and it wasn't one of their 3-point shooters, and it was kind of an off-balance shot. And Eastland held on to win that super sectional. So we move on to Thursday morning. Eastland taking on Chicago Marshall. And boy, Kyle, just unfortunately for Eastland, the magic kind of ran out there. Their shot, it didn't look like Eastland, Kyle, on the offensive side of the ball. Like I think they shot something like 11% in the first half or something like that. Like they just couldn't do anything. I think it was 24-8 at the half, something like that.
Correct. Yep, 24-8 at half. Yep.
So it just, and Eastland wasn't playing terrible on defense. I mean, that's about what they've been giving up, for a half in the postseason on average, about 24. So defensively, they were still solid, but offensively, and I can't really pinpoint it, Kyle. They just couldn't get anything going. I don't know if it was the length of Marshall or the quickness or what it was, but just wasn't Eastland's day, unfortunately, that day. And up losing 66-38. I think it really got out of hand in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Eastland made a small run starting the third, but I don't think they got any closer than 12. They had a little bit of momentum, made a few baskets here and there, but just could never make that Eastland type run to get back into it. Then we move on to Thursday night, the third place game against Lawrenceville. And, I just thought Lawrenceville, Kyle, their height really bothered Eastland, I felt like. They went 6'5", 6'5", 6'4", 6'3", 6'3" in their starting lineup, So Eastland was really having to, maybe go up against some length that they really weren't used to. And obviously Lawrenceville, they were a team that was ranked number 1 for a good portion of the season. And it showed. They played really well against Eastland. And, Eastland they just couldn't get their main guys going in that game. I think at the half, Krogman and Anderson and Carroll, who have all been great in the postseason, I think those guys had combined for like 2 points at halftime or something like that, So they just couldn't get their main guys going, So, but nonetheless, Kyle, a 4th place finish at state. When, let's be honest, I don't think 3 weeks ago a lot of us would have predicted that, So credit to their players, their coaching staff, and Eastland's bringing back another trophy to the trophy case there in Lanark. So congratulations to them on a great season.
Yep. I mean, it may not be the finish that they wanted, but like you said, I think they overachieved expectations from outside of their locker room.
Right.
I think inside their locker room, Coach Zumdahl had even stated in his post-game conference that, that the players wanted to get back here, and that was their goal. So they believed that they could get back to Champaign. But I think outside expectations, which mean absolutely nothing. It always matters what they believe in the locker room. But outside of that locker room, I think the expectations, like you said, Eastland was not the favorite to get down there. They made it happen. They thrived off the experience that they had built up. They were playing hot, but then once they get down state, it kind of unraveled on them. The very cold shooting, lack of size, lack of speed, definitely played parts in both those games. As you stated, I was able to watch both of them, and it was an unfortunate finish. I felt that in the Lawrenceville game, they definitely came out much more prepared, but down the stretch, Lawrenceville was able to hit big shots. And then they were just able to really stifle anything that Eastland tried to do. And as you said, Lawrenceville is ranked number 1 the majority of the year. They lost to Goreville in their state semifinals, which was the second time they had lost to Goreville this year. And there's a lot of people that felt that this was probably the worst that they've seen Lawrenceville play all year was in that Goreville game.
Right.
And Goreville gave Marshall everything they could. They had a lead at halftime. They had a lead going into the fourth quarter, but Marshall came back to win the state championship over Goreville in that one. So that just goes to speak, had Lawrenceville been on top of their game Thursday, maybe they're the ones that are hoisting the state championship trophy, as a lot of people thought that they would be from the onset of the season. But
Yeah.
either way,
I was going to say, Cal, the other thing too that I kind of noticed on both of those games, if you've watched Eastland basketball this year, they really didn't have the makeup of a come from behind team.
No.
I'm not saying they can't come from behind. I'm not saying that at all.
No, they're just a
But
more slower paced team.
They were built to keep the score close, work the ball offensively, so they were taken out of their game, both of those games, by falling behind early, if that makes sense.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the thing was, it felt like in the second half, Marshall and Lawrenceville both just kind of out Eastland. And what I mean by that is they were both very patient with the ball in the second half, and they weren't going to give Eastland that opportunity to get back in the game by taking bad or ill-advised shots.
Yeah, that's one of the things I found to be in Marshall. I mean, you get some of those city schools, and that they're good basketball schools, right? But who is that? Who's that kid that was the stud for Marshall?
Darren Lay Jr.
Yeah, Darren Lay. So his dad's the coach, right?
Yep.
And Coach DJ Lay, I felt like he has done a great job, with this Marshall team. They didn't play basketball the way that you see some of these city schools play. Like, they definitely had a foundation. They had a great culture. They played within their own system, and they never broke from that. And
Right.
like you said, there were times where it was a run and go type offense. And then there were times where they definitely slowed down the pace, moved the ball around. And a lot of the CPL schools get thrown off for not having much discipline. I felt like Marshall was very well disciplined as far as what they wanted to do and how they accomplished things. And it showed. I mean, they definitely ran through and earned their state championship. No doubt about that.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say, Kyle, just to recap, this Eastland senior class is going to graduate with 3 regional titles, 3 sectional championship appearances, 2 sectional titles, 2 supersectionals, and a second and a fourth place trophy at state. I mean, this senior class, Parker Krogman, Zy Harrell, Braden Anderson. I mean, these guys, and there's some others, Harper Kine, Perry Stoner. I mean, these guys, Kyle, they're, again, you, like we talked about last week, you can't argue the resume, and that's stuff that's never going to be taken away from these kids, so, and again, it's just continues to lay the foundation for the expectations at Eastland.
And that's just it. Eastland gets to have it's not going to be the banner that they want, but they're going to be able to hang another banner in their gymnasium to add to the oodles of banners that they have around their gymnasium over the past 25 years. And in next year or in 5 years or in 10 years from now, they're going to come back in that gym. They're going to see their runner-up banner. They're going to see their fourth place banner, and they're going to think back to all the great times that they had. And knowing that they were part of continuing on the foundation and the success that is Eastland athletics.
Yep. And also, one last shout out here for Parker Krogman. By the information I was given, Kyle, he finished his career with, I believe it was 2,189 points or 2,190, right? And I don't have it in front of me, but just under 2,200 points Parker finished his career with. So, obviously, a shout out to him. That's a lot of points. I don't care who you are, what team you play for, what the circumstances are. That's a lot of points. You cannot argue that. So, and
No,
obviously, I'm sure
absolutely
Park would be
not.
the first one to give his teammates just as much credit. Obviously,
Oh, for sure.
but
It's one of the
it's as
best
much of
things
a team
about
award sometimes as an individual. But yeah, to beat Eastland's all-time leading scorer with some of the names that have gone through there the past 25, 30, 40 years, I mean, that's quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And speaking of that, we'll go through. We did this last week for girls basketball, so now we got the boys all-state team. So first team was Parker Krogman. Second team went to Austin Stuckey of Dakota. Third team had Drew Koenigs from Galena, Zion Brima from Pecatonica, Bryce Van Raalte from Warren, and Kason Mayer from Dakota. And then special mention had East Dubuque's Ethan Schulting. So a good representation on the all-state team from the NUIC. And, Parker, obviously the headliner of that one with this first team all-conference nomination, and Stuckey, another player of the year there, getting second team, and Koenigs was player of the year in the West Division, also getting honors there for the third team.
Yeah, Kyle, so you know me, I'm not a huge social media guy. I'm only on X. That's my only social media platform. But my son was telling me there's quite a bit of talk about Zion Brima only being third team on social media. And I'd say I'd
Yes.
have to agree with that. The last thing you want to do is give Coach Bobby Heisler and Zion Brima more motivation going into next season.
This is
Only
true.
being on third team. You're telling me, Cal, there's 20 players better than him in Class A?
Yeah, I mean,
I know this is baseball, basketball, football on IHSA. It's tough because you don't get to see all these guys play. All you basically have is their stats in front of you and what these coaches and these representatives at the state meeting say about these kids. But man, Kyle, Coach Bobby Heisler and Zion are going to use that for motivation going into next year.
Yeah. I mean, is he one of the best players in 1A? Yes. Do I agree with some of the talk that he was only third team? Yes, I do. But when you take a look at his total points total, yes, he became a 1,000-point scorer this year. But let's be honest, early in the season, there were games where, whether he was sick, injured, or whatever, that he just did not put up the points that you would expect out of a kid of his caliber. And I think to a degree, that may have had a little bit of an effect on how these coaches looked at his stats to get him the nomination, or the votes, I should say, not the nomination because he was already nominated, but the votes required in order to be in those names. Could he have been second team? 100%, taking a look at some of those second team's names. But let's take a look at the first team names. Bryson Mossman from Jacksonville Route, led Route to a super sectional. Darren Lay from Marshall, obviously led Marshall a state championship. Jaden Goff from Lawrenceville, led Lawrenceville to a third place finish.
Right.
Kyler Cooper from Woodlawn. Woodlawn was a top 10 team all year long, and they too had beat Eastland back in the regular season. Nathaniel Marlowe from Weber. He was a 3,000-point career scorer.
3,000 points.
Nick King from Goreville led Goreville to a runner-up finish. Parker Krogman leading Eastland. Gage Peterson at Waltonville. Waltonville was state ranked all year long in the top 10. Same with Luke Blackford from Springfield Calvary. Calvary was a top 15 team all season long. And then the last one was Tyler Smith from Chicago Manly. He's the only one on that first team list I have no information on. I don't know what that kid did at Chicago Manly, but clearly a lot of players, coaches thought that he was well deserved of all state honors on the first team. So what I'm saying is that's a hard first team to break into.
And it should be. I mean, it's first team all state we're talking. It should be a hard team to break into.
Correct. So, yes, Zion may have been one of the best players in the state. There's no questioning that. But what did his team do in comparison to those teams?
Yeah.
They won a regional championship. They got to the sectional championship, but some of these guys, they just had better overall numbers throughout the course of the year. In my opinion, as a coach, I can understand and see why Zion didn't get first team all state.
Right. And I think, Kyle, for a lot of us, myself included, we just more saw postseason Zion where he was just an absolute beast. So a lot of times this stuff you go by recency bias, right? Like, what have you done for me lately? And I think a lot of people probably that are commenting on they can't believe he was only third team. I think they probably, got caught up in what he did the last 4 or 5 games of the season where he was just an absolute animal and couldn't be stopped.
And he was everything Pecatonica needed him to be.
Yep.
But your season is what leads
Right.
you to be All-State. And not to, be remiss on it, but he was third team. It's still a great honor.
Oh, and that's
And
and
he
only
was
a
not-
junior.
And
To
he was
make
not
any sort of all-state team as a junior, I
and he
mean,
was not player of the year in his own conference. The player of the year was Stuckey, who
Yeah.
was second team All-State.
good point.
And to
Yeah.
be quite honest, I've seen some people trying to argue for Stuckey being first team. I don't see where Stuckey fits into the first team All-State team based
Well, and
off the list I just read off.
Yeah, that's the thing. You'd have to take somebody off of that list to put Stuckey on the list.
So I just don't see it. Like you said, it's meant to be hard, and
Right.
it's not meant to just say, I'm sorry, but we do have a lot of fans. And granted, I get it. The NUIC is a very successful conference, and it's a great conference. I love it. Obviously, we do this show weekly because we love this conference.
Right.
But sometimes we got to take our goggled-eyed glasses off and actually see what's truly out there.
Right. Nope, that's for sure.
And there's more to the all-state team than just the northwest corner part of the state.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle, let me throw one thing at you here. And folks, I'm throwing this at him. He has no idea what I'm going to ask him here. There's been a lot of talk of, the way the state tournament's set up for basketball. Eastland, or the 1A games are on Thursday morning. Then the 2 losers of those games play the third place game on Thursday night. And then the same thing happens on Friday. 3 and 4A play, and then the losers play on Friday night for third and fourth place. Kind of give me your thoughts on that, Kyle. I think there's different ways you could do it. I'm not a fan of it. I know you got your old school guys saying, it used to be that way. Well, I understand that. My biggest thing, Kyle, is to me that Friday nights should be maybe your prime slot to get fans to the arena in Champaign, and you're playing the third place games. So that I think something needs to change there. But what's kind of your thoughts though on the whole third place games being the same day and being at night?
So you're right. I was not planning for this question, but ironically,
This is what we do on NUIC All Access, though, Kyle. We put guys on the spot.
Yeah, and ironically, I did take a look at this format over the weekend here, and when you look at 1A, 2A, so you had your 1A, 2A semifinals, so you had both semifinal games, and then you had both third place games, so that was 4 games total played for 1A, 2A. Then you go to Friday, you had 3A, 4A, both semifinal games, 3A, 4A, both third place games. So that was 4 games. And then you roll into Saturday and you had all 4 state championship games. I agree with all 4 state championship games being played on Friday. Saturday.
Yeah.
Why? The change I see, you got to state. Let's not make it a one-night day.
Yeah.
1A through 4A semifinal games can all be played Thursday. Your third place matchups can all be played on Friday. And your state championship games can all be played on Saturday.
Yeah.
That way, you're not playing 2 games in the same day. You're spreading the wealth. 1A through 4A are all playing their semifinal game on Thursday. 1A through 4A are all playing their third place game on Friday, and then they're all playing their state championship game on Saturday. I don't see why it's that hard to do. Plus, on top of that, it gives the players themselves a chance to play a game. You don't have to try to rest and recover in the same day to come back and play later that night. Granted, it's not that big of a deal in basketball because they do give you a good time frame to spread that out, right?
Right.
But like you said, more fans in the stands. If I can get my team here to play on Thursday for the state semifinals, and then I can return Friday to play my third place game, I'm going to have more fans in the stands.
Right.
Whereas if I try to do it all in one day like Eastland had to, or in all the other third place games, yeah, they're there. Like, you saw the showing of Eastland fans in the stands, but you take some of that spirit of the state championship away because by third day, they're done.
Yeah.
Why not let them have the additional night to go back, mentally prepare, and come back on Friday to play for that third place game?
Right. I agree, Kyle.
And give them a full state experience.
Yes. And the other thing I'll say, too, and I kind of already mentioned, well, let me mention two things here. I totally 100% agree with you. On Saturday, it's the 4 state championship games. Now, to me, though, Kyle, there's no reason, though, that a 1A state championship game should start at 10 o'clock in the morning. You easily could have the 1A game at noon, the 2A game at 2, and then you could do 3 and 4A, say, at 5:30 and 7:30. There's no reason you have to play a state championship game at 10 o'clock in the morning. But that's just me talking out loud.
No, they could definitely move that forward to a better game slot. I think what they try to do is they tried to kind of mirror how they do it for football, right?
Right. Yeah.
And, there's a lot of people that stay the same thing when it comes to football. But like you said, basketball plays fewer minutes. The game times are a lot faster than what football gameplay is.
Right.
So I can understand in football where you want to keep it, because I'm there every year, 1A through 4A.
Yep.
And there's years where I've gotten out of the stadium and it's almost 11 o'clock at night.
And you've been there since 9 in the morning.
Correct. 8 in the morning, actually.
8 in the morning. The other thing sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
No. So yeah, I'm just myself alone as just being a media member. I'm there at the state championships for almost a 15-hour day. Now imagine if I were actually truly working that state championship. You're putting all those people into that same position.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where people don't understand. They don't pick up on it. Like, yeah, they have different people working shifts, but you have other people. Like Matt Troja is there from start to finish.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Your announcers are there from start to finish. The TV personnel are the only ones that are changing in and out, but the behind-the-scenes people, the officials of IHSA, are there literally all day long, coordinating, doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is what people fail to see. They don't see it because they only see what they see on TV, or they see what they see in person. They don't see the stuff that we get to see as being members of the media.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle, the only other thing I'll say, too, though, this basketball, I really think the IHSA is missing out that Friday night time slot with them having the 3rd and 4th place games or the 3rd, 4th place games for 3 and 4A. To me, that should be your prime slot other than the championships, the Friday night. People get off work on Friday, head over to the state tournament, right? But they're not heading over to watch the 3rd place game, in my opinion.
No.
Yeah, I think they really could do something different there. But again, that's just my opinion.
They're not, but I think the 3rd place game has still a good luxury. I guess I put Friday as being the 2nd tier day.
Yeah.
That's where I feel that you should have your 3rd place games on Friday. But you can still have them more scheduled to be later in the day, so you could actually get up in the morning and not have to rush.
Yeah.
Like I said, you see tournaments do it all the time where they're scheduling stuff in 2-hour blocks.
Right. Right.
You could do 2, 4, 6, 8 as a schedule block and probably not have a whole lot of run over time.
Right. Yeah.
And if you really want to do it, you could do it as 1, 3, 5, and 7.
Right.
Therefore, if you do have a little bit of run over time, it's still giving you some room to play within.
Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to get that off my chest, Kyle, a little bit. And I thought this was a good platform to do that. So,
Yeah. I feel that if you've earned your right to play in the state championship, you should be playing on Saturday. I get what you're saying. You could split up the state championships to where 1A, 2A are on Friday night, 3A and 4A are on Saturday night. I guess that would be another road to go.
right.
But me personally, I like the state championship games on Saturday.
Right. Anyways,
But I haven't attended a basketball state finals game since 1993. So that I've only been watching it on TV ever since.
right.
My plan was to hopefully get there this year, but it did not work out for all my plans I had in place. Plus, having baseball already kicked off underway kind of makes it hard.
Right.
But anyway, it was a great basketball season nonetheless. Congratulations to the Eastland Cougars on their 4th place finish. Spring sports are already kicking off. Baseball starting up this week. We've seen a couple track and field results here recently as well. Lena Winslow just won an indoor track meet, which we're expecting Lena Winslow to have a strong track season here again. Weather's going to get a little tough today, but we should start seeing baseball games opening up later this week. Softball's already kicked off for some teams. Some teams are still scheduled to start this week yet. So by the end of the week, when we come on next week with Fulton softball head coach Derek Gurman, hopefully we definitely have seen every team play at least one game this week. So that should be a lot of fun and something to look forward to.
Yeah,
But
no doubt about it. You got to have the weather cooperate for these spring sports for sure.
definitely. And, I just to keep it short, the weather has been great to start off the spring sports season. Unfortunately, it is still early March, so we're in Northern Illinois for a reason, I guess. But good thing is forecast is looking like we're going to get less snow, which is great for us. So hopefully the less snow accumulation we get, the quicker we can get fields dried off and ready to go, because we're supposed to be back in the 50s by Wednesday, I think. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday looks great with a lot of sunshine and high to mid 50s.
Yeah, no
Or
doubt
mid to
about it.
high 50s. So yeah, we should definitely get some games in this week. So a lot to look forward to. Obviously, a lot of great things across the NUIC still as we get into the spring sports season. Get out to those games, root for your teams. As always, root for the NUIC. We'll see you next week.